South Sudan has been admitted as the sixth country to the regional bloc, thereby increasing the East African community market to 162 million people, according to reports. As the youngest East African country, South Sudan was admitted on Wednesday at the ongoing 17th Ordinary Summit of the EAC Heads of State in Arusha, Tanzania. According to the treaty establishing the EAC, new members are admitted if they respect the principles of democracy, rule of law, accountability, transparency, and social justice. On the spotlight is South Sudan's envoy to Uganda, Samuel Luwate. Good evening, Ambassador Luwate. Welcome to the show on the spot tonight.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for inviting me. And once again, thank you.
I understand the process of admitting South Sudan to the East African community has been so protracted, if you may use that word. But just yesterday, your country was admitted into the bloc. What caused the change of heart?
Well, you know, South Sudan has been in the struggle for quite a long time. And that struggle was purely for the identity of being Africans. And so it's not by coincidence that South Sudan is now being admitted to the bloc. It is indeed the will of the people of South Sudan that we had to be a part of the East African community. And that has happened yesterday. Thank God that South Sudan is now a member of the East African community. And I would like to thank all the head of the states who have put their hands together, their heads together, their minds together to admit their sisterly country, South Sudan, to the East African community.
What we're saying has been pertaining for years. My question is really, what is it this Wednesday? What is it with this 17th Heads of State Summit in Arusha that made them malleable and change their earlier position, which was hardened in a way?
Well, you see, as you remember, South Sudan got independence 4 years ago. And indeed, as a young country, it is the responsibility of all member states of the East African community to bring up South Sudan. This is a young country that actually deserves all the courtesy that should be provided by the people of the East African community and to bring the sisters and brothers together. So the change that has come yesterday, that came yesterday to the minds of the head of the states in Arusha, Tanzania, was a blessing because indeed South Sudan has been longing for a long time that we wanted to be a part of the East African community. And you know, indeed, it's not a mistake that actually we are admitted, but it is the will of the people of South Sudan.
Ambassador Luwate, there are tenets, for instance, on democracy, the rule of law, social justice, accountability. And when you look at the report of the AU, it released a report, and I quote, "The stories and reports of the human toll of the violence and brutality have been heart-wrenching. All these accounts evoke the memories of some of the worst episodes of earlier human rights violations on the continent." With all these glaring kind of incidents, South Sudan does not have the tenets that will make it qualify to join.
First of all, let me just rewind my mind up. South Sudan has been in a war for quite a long time. South Sudan has been fighting for justice, equality in the Republic of and when we were still one country. Until we became independent of the Republic of South Sudan, the justice that we fought for indeed later on turned into some kind of crisis. But again, as I said, you know, this is not a unique only to South Sudan. It has happened in so many African countries that wars have came and gone. And it is also the same thing that South Sudan have learned its own mistakes. And it will come to a point whereby we will be just like another country in the world who will be specifically perfect also at the same time.
Yeah, but you see, if they say these are the tenets we need to qualify, and if they are lacking in your country, sir, with all respect, one would imagine, would it be wrong for me to say you were admitted through the back door?
No. We were not actually admitted through the back door because the crisis that happened in South Sudan, these are things that happens between the two brothers in the country. And therefore, they've come to sense or realize that this is not how we should be. This is not actually the basis where we fought for that country before. And now this is not something that actually could prevent South Sudan to be actually admitted to the East African community. It is a situation whereby we are sure 100% that whatever happened in the Republic of South Sudan will easily be corrected. As I said earlier on, this is not only something that has happened in South Sudan, it has happened everywhere in the continent. And therefore, people start from somewhere, and then they grow from somewhere until they become democratic, rule of laws, principle of democracy were all to be put together. But South Sudan cannot just be blamed at this particular time that we don't have all these ingredients to be admitted to the East African.
You don't have to be blamed. You have to be measured according to the yardstick that they have put. And I find I find your country wanting because they have put that yardstick, and some things are missing. For example, according to the peace treaty you signed, Riek Machar is supposed to be in Juba. He's not there. Well,
definitely, this is not a situation that the government is to be blamed for it. The government of the Republic of South Sudan has put things together correctly. The advance team of Riek Machar is in Juba at the moment correctly. Government of the Republic of South Sudan is taking care of them, accommodating them, feeding them, transporting them all over the Republic of South Sudan. The government of South Sudan has gone together to put all the institutions of the government together. The ministries in the Republic of South Sudan has been divided. Others has gone to the government, others has gone to the IO, the rest has gone to the former detainees. And therefore, the President of the Republic of South Sudan has moved so faster to appoint Dr. Riek Machar to the position of the first Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan. These are credits that has been given to the people of South Sudan, and therefore we are managing, we are bringing things together to make sure that that country actually roll as it has.
But how does it roll when you know that your country, South Sudan, has been in throes of conflict for decades? It has left your economy in tatters. Your manufacturing sector is non-existent. Your agriculture is primordial. How do you compete? How do you leverage?
No, but definitely you will understand that this situation is not only in South Sudan. It's not peculiar to South Sudan as only. It has been existing in all the African countries. And they move out from this crisis to establish the fundamental needs in those countries. South Sudan is not a unique country, and South Sudan will definitely come out from this crisis. And we have already started this crisis. That's why we have come together, and the former detainees and the IO are now in Juba moving together. What we're now saying is that Dr. Riek should come to the country because the people of South Sudan are now calling for peace in that country. Of course, mistakes can happen. As you realize later on, the President of the Republic of South Sudan have said worldwide, he said he's sorry, he apologized to the people of the Republic of South Sudan. And therefore, the need now is for us not to talk about war now. The need in South Sudan is now to bring ourselves together and to put our house together so that we move forward together as brothers and sisters within the East African community. This is what is now needed at this particular moment.
But you come with so many disadvantages, don't you?
Yes, of course, but it is not, as I said, it's not unique to South Sudan. It has happened everywhere. And even when we had a war with the Republic of Sudan, by then there were so many disadvantages that actually were in existence in the Republic of Sudan. But at the end of the day, people moved to correct their mistakes and put their houses together. So in this current situation, South Sudan is moving forward. As I told you, there is no any war current in South Sudan. The oppositions are in Juba. The former detainees are in Juba. The government is moving forward with the implementation of the agreement at this particular moment. What is now left is for the first Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan, now designated, to come back to Juba and sit down with the brothers and sisters, and you will realize that peace again will prevail in the Republic of South Sudan.
For you to benefit as a country in the bloc, really, you have to have an agricultural industry that is robust, some form of manufacturing sector, and an economy that is strong.
But don't forget that South Sudan has been in war for decades.
Yes, I know.
South Sudan has been in war for decades.
So what I'm saying, you are admitting your people into the bloc, you are coming in with a lot of disadvantages. That does not help you compete. In fact, it puts you at a disadvantage, doesn't it?
Well, the coming up of South Sudan actually to this East African community is a gateway. It's for South Sudan, is for the members of East African community to open up for people of South Sudan. What it means is that in order for us to compete within the East African community, the East African community members should be in a position to open up their institution, to make sure that the brothers and sisters from the Republic of South Sudan are also brought to the same position where you are now as Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, and other blocks that are within the community. So the idea here is that young country like South Sudan, it is good for you to bring them in so that at least you can also...
But do you understand that there will be need, Ambassador Luwate,
yes,
to protect your fragile labor market? Because the common market allows the free movement of labor. And they will go into South Sudan. They'll come from Kenya, they'll come from Rwanda with skills and the competition your people may not be able to compete. How do you protect your labor market?
We definitely have no problem with that because those skills are the skills that we need in South Sudan. That is why we said we wanted to join the East African community so that we can also learn from our brothers and sisters. So you who have all those skills, you are entitled to make sure that you also help us to come. And the people of South Sudan...
You're just forgetting that the other day, Ambassador Luwate,
people of South Sudan will be willing to learn from there. And of course, we are not completely that we are blind completely. There are people there in South Sudan who are actually capturing
A few months ago, your country was expelling Ugandans out of Juba who had taken skills that are basic skills. And now you're telling me you can come over.
I have said
Has that changed?
I have said this one completely here in Uganda and in several medias here. South Sudan have never sent all the Ugandans. I have one time said that the people who are there, just like the South Sudanese who are here in Uganda, if they have committed crimes, they have committed some mistakes, the Ugandan government has got the responsibility to put them right.
You are saying
if there are those who are also committed crime in South Sudan, we should collaborate together to make sure that we put them right. The idea here is not chasing them out.
The idea here is to make sure that Ambassador Luwate, we saw young men riding their motorcycles, getting out of South Sudan at breakneck speed. The people coming down south, it was like a biblical migration of biblical proportion. Why would that happen if they are just giving you only basic skills and yet you're saying...
Well, you understand that when these individuals were in South Sudan, as a state, as a country, anybody entering a country, just like in Uganda, myself as an ambassador here, I had to go through the process of getting all the procedures, the documentation needed from the Republic of Uganda in order for me to carry out my activities in Uganda. What happened in South Sudan was a responsibility of the government of South Sudan to make sure that whoever is there, it must be accountable to the government. We must register that person. We must know where does he live. We must know all the activities. This is just for preventing crimes in the country, just like here. And as a result, when they came back to Uganda here, you're well aware of this thing. The Ugandan government asked them to be registered here. They refused, that they could not be registered here. You see, on the situation. In their own country called Uganda, they refuse to be registered. In South Sudan, we want to register them so that we know them, so that to know that these people are here in the Republic of South Sudan. How do you protect them? How do you help them? This is the situation. It was not a matter of searching Ugandans out from there. As I tell you, this is a country that has assisted South Sudan truly as a brother and a sister.
And this is the thing. And this is the thing. And this is the country you have not reciprocated the kind of friendship, comradeship that was given to you and your people.
No. It's not that South Sudan have actually changed Uganda out from there. I'm repeating this again. You go to South Sudan now, the business communities are those people from Uganda here. They are in South Sudan, as I tell you. I came from Juba 2 weeks ago, and I know who are the business communities there. But let's differentiate. The right people...
Are you saying, Ambassador Luwate,
the wrong people at the
same
time?
Are you saying,
like
Ambassador Luwate, when you sit in your office in Kampala, you don't get complaints from Ugandans who say, whereas South Sudanese are treated well in Kampala, and they should be, by the way, the same is not given to Ugandans who in South Sudan.
Let me just give you an example here. A month ago, there were crises here in Uganda. South Sudanese were beaten all over the place. We went to the Uganda government and said it is a responsibility to protect these particular individuals. We went to our people and told them that please be calm in this country and follow rules and regulations. This is the advice that we gave them. In South Sudan wanted to protect the Ugandans themselves there. But how do I protect you if I don't know you, if I don't register you at this particular moment? So the idea was not to expel them. Those who left South Sudan are those who say, no, I will not be registered, and how do you then operate in the country?
Let me give you my own example.
It's all over the world. You go elsewhere.
I picked my camera.
You are actually needed.
I picked my camera on an invitation of an international organization in South Sudan to do a story in Juba.
Yes.
And I went to Konyo market.
Yes.
Please. And I'm doing my recordings.
Yes.
And guess what?
Yes.
Young men surrounded me and said, you cannot. Unfortunately, they are speaking in Juba Arabic, which I could not understand. I showed them my press card that have been given authority to do this. Now, until I have to go back to the SPLM office and they give me a soldier.
Now, let me tell you this.
To walk me around Juba
let me tell
Konyo market.
These are not people who are responsible. Myself here, if I go to Arua Park, what do you expect me to do? I had South Sudanese who come from Arua Park, who came from Juba to Arua Park, and definitely you find that they are simply robbed from the bus from somewhere. You cannot say this is a Ugandan government doing this. Individual issues are individual issues. It cannot be connected to a government activity.
When it becomes widespread
definitely,
in the country, it becomes like...
Definitely, if it becomes widespread, the government will come in and say, this is completely wrong. We must put logistics together to make sure that every citizen, whether it's from Uganda or from Kenya or from anywhere, is protected in that country. Simply as that, completely. And so, the South Sudan government has taken instrumental decisions to make that we protect any national that has come to the country. But, of course, certain individuals take the rules into their own hands. And that could not be the responsibility of the government. But definitely, after knowing that somebody has done something wrong to somebody else, the government will intervene on that situation.
The people I have spoken to on the admission of South Sudan to the East African community, some of them say, look, well, it's a good thing, but the others are like, South Sudan is coming with an excess baggage of toxic tribal conflicts that are almost tearing it apart.
But you know,
but do you think the East African bloc would be the platform where such conflicts can be?
Definitely. This is why I said earlier on that you cannot leave a house of your brother burning while you are seeing it. There are certain things that actually are better in the East African community. If there are certain things that are wrong in the Republic of South Sudan, our brothers will have to step in and say, look, this is how we're supposed to be doing things. Exactly these are the provisions why South Sudan was admitted in, because the head of states of the East African countries, they believe that if South Sudan is a part of the East African community, definitely there are certain things that can be discussed and can be improved, can be discouraged, and can make the bloc to move forward together as a unit. That's exactly what it is.
But so you believe that you come with excess baggage, with all respect, the sick man of East Africa?
No. That's not the scenario here. That's not the scenario of we coming with excess baggage. Because at the end of the day, you must understand that you are joining a community and you have a responsibility there. Those responsibilities, we take them seriously. We don't leave them down, to make sure that the Republic of South Sudan is also respected by the international community and by the East African community, the sisters and brothers within the region. And so if you see something that is not good in the Republic of South Sudan, you have a responsibility also to sit down with me and say, brother and sister, this thing is not okay. Can we make it so that we can improve our living conditions here? And by the way, the admission of the Republic of South Sudan and the East African community is a blessing, because it's all about development. It's all about not leaving one behind. We should move together as people so that at least we don't be depending on international community. If we are able to move together, share ideas together, trade together, and come together, educate ourselves together, we will all benefit and will be winning together.
Is it not embarrassing to find that the country still imports things like tomatoes and cabbages and water and all the things since the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement many years ago? Yes, you have teething problems as a young nation, but really one would expect for you to have gone over things like those, especially in the area of feeding yourselves.
Let me tell you, this issue of feeding in South Sudan is only in the capital cities. But if you go to rural areas, people are feeding themselves because people are cultivating. People are having their own food. They're not depending on other, relief agencies from elsewhere. But of course, in the capital city, just like here in Kampala, you see people have moved inside here. Of course, nobody have got a garden here to cultivate and all these things, but they have to depend on the market here.
I know.
I know, for example.
And
definitely,
In Western Equatoria, areas of Yambio, very fertile, a lot of food there. But unfortunately, that food cannot reach Juba because you don't have roads there.
Yeah, definitely. We agree with that. And this is why...
This is not, this is not to say that you cannot feed yourselves, but your food cannot reach you.
I agree with you completely with the issue of the road. And this is why the government has put a priority that in order for the food to reach the city, there must be roads. There must be road connectivity that will make the people from the rural areas bring their food to the country on that issue. And this is what we are...
There hasn't been war in Western Equatoria.
No.
Western Equatoria has been... Yambio and areas of Central Equatoria have been...
During the Civil War, there's no any place in South Sudan that was left without any war. Khartoum has bombarded every area. And also don't forget that the Republic of... that South Sudan by then, Southern Sudan by then, was completely neglected. There was not even a single road there. What we have started, what you have seen now, is something that we have just started with it from the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement in 2005. If you see a road in South Sudan now, it resulted from the signing of this agreement, but there has been any single road in South Sudan. You can only see a road from Konyo Konyo there, from Juba, Malakir, up to the headquarters there, to what we call Modoria, what we call the governor's office. This is the road only there. But I wanted to assure you that the government of South Sudan has done a greater thing. That's why now you go to Juba, you see a large roads there. What is now left now is for us to expand the roads outside, you see. And you can see every governors are trying hard to make sure that roads are actually put in place in order for our people to bring food. Yes, we have sufficient food elsewhere, in Ye, in Yambio, in KGKG, and other parts of South Sudan. But the issue of the road, because the government of Sudan by then did not develop South Sudan. So that cannot be attributed as a failure to the government of South Sudan. If anything, South Sudan has actually improved itself very well.
It has been 11 years since CPA was signed.
Well, but you are now seeing the development in South Sudan, where if you go to Juba, by then in 2005, which building have you seen in South Sudan? There was nothing. And I take you now to Juba now and see Juba now. Juba was moving just as faster as in the development. Just as one of the fastest developed country in the world as a whole.
I know sleeping in a tent for $150 a night.
Yes, of course.
We're going to take a break.
Of course.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask Ambassador Luate, what do they bring on the East African table that makes them, compete? We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guest tonight is Ambassador Luate, the South Sudanese ambassador to Uganda. You have been admitted to the East African community. What do you bring on board? What is your comparative or even competitive advantage that will make you tick as you join this group of 5 nations?
Well, first of all, you must understand that South Sudan has the vast resources in the country. We are now having the oil in South Sudan, but we have not actually gone into the exploration of the mineral resources that we have in South Sudan. The vast resources in the Republic of South Sudan. This is a tremendous achievement that these resources, if we share them with the East African community, for example, the oil. There are countries that are here in East Africa exporting oil from other countries far away, from Saudi Arabia and other places far away from there. If South Sudan is to be, is now admitted to this organization that we call East African Community, that is a plus. And so that people that are within the region can even go and buy oil from South Sudan.
Are you refining the oil or you're exporting crude oil?
Yes, of course. We will, now what is happening is that we are actually
exporting crude oil.
We are now trying to make sure.
We are buying refined oil.
Actually, South Sudan is actually building its own refineries now. If not because of this war that's happened, we would have heavy refineries that would actually supply the region. And this is exactly what we intend to do. And so that the oil that we have, it benefits our people within the region. So that you can save more money and you just go to South Sudan and get the oil from here and come to Uganda here and other places. That's exactly what it is. There are a lot of mineral resources in South Sudan that is not being exploited. This is also another plus to the region. That will actually make South Sudan to compete. Uganda will buy, Kenya will buy, other countries will buy, international community.
So you're expecting Uganda to buy the mineral resources, the resources that you have really, are the same resources we are trying to sell to China, to the rest of the world.
We can share. We can combine certain resources together in order to build a country, in order to build a region. I know Uganda has the resources here, and then Kenya has the resources, South Sudan has the resources. We can combine all the resources in order to develop ourselves. What is happening here is all about development of the region, so that we can move together without nobody left behind. This is exactly so. So South Sudan is not just coming in because we have nothing. South Sudan has vast resources that tremendously the East African community will benefit from it. The South Sudanese people also will benefit from the East African community. You know, as you know now, the bulk of the food we are taking from the East African community. And tremendously South Sudan will transfer himself into a food basket at the same time. You see? And that will help. We will be selling, countries will come and buy from us, and we will be also buying from other countries. We exchange goods. There are resources goods in South Sudan. They are not found in Uganda, they are not found in Kenya, but you can find them there. And also the market, the development in South Sudan, as I mentioned before, the buildings that are moving up, these buildings, who are building them there? They are people from the East African community. Is it not a benefit that South Sudan is coming with? The development alone in South Sudan that enrich the people together. That's exactly so. That's what we're saying, that we share together. We take expertise from here, they come to South Sudan, and the South Sudanese also who are also intellectuals at the same time.
So now,
East Africa will also benefit from it.
Let me ask, with the signing of this memorandum of understanding between Uganda and Kenya to build the pipeline from Hoima to Tanga on the southern in Tanzania,
yes,
doesn't that, you know, affect the LAPSET project of the Lokchojo Lamu pipeline that was supposed to have gone?
No.
Doesn't that affect?
That will not actually affect that.
Isn't that because somehow they are avoiding the insecurity there, so you're focusing on the Hoima Tanga via Tanzania?
If you understand actually what we're now doing within the northern corridors here, there's a connectivity of railways that will be connecting East Africa as a whole. And at the same time, you will see that the oil pipelines also, the Lamu LAPSET from that side, and there's a possibility of also South Sudan and Uganda coming together at the same time with a one pipeline, even a refinery in the future. You see, that will not actually disadvantage us. It will become a plus to us. And as we move forward, we will come together as a region, so that at least the resources that we have, we can put it together. And that will actually help us as a whole. Uganda, South Sudan, Kenya, Rwanda, and all these countries that are within the bloc.
But you have to solve the issue of your political stability first, to remove the conflict first, so that you can attract investors, so that you can have work together alongside. I had mentioned this, that the government of the Republic of South Sudan has put mechanisms to end this particular war. And that's why the president has taken it as a responsibility to make sure that this war ends and that the people of South Sudan will never again go back to war. And this is what is happening now. Exactly. What we are now saying here is that the first vice president designated to come to South Sudan, and you will see tomorrow. Now, there are not guns in South Sudan. There are no guns in South Sudan. There's no fighting between the... There's mutual suspicion.
There's no fighting between the government and rebels at this particular moment. They are in Juba for a peace. And we are implementing peace. Government has gone too far in implementing this peace. And so what is now left is for the vice president to come to Juba, and definitely things will work out.
Why has it taken so long for him to come to Juba?
Well, you should ask him that particular question, because in the first place, he's already appointed in the government. And then even the day before yesterday, the vice president, James Waniga, has vacated his office for him, and so that he comes to Juba. He is to submit in the list of his ministerial portfolio to the president, so that the president will come to bring together the whole cabinet and announce it to the whole world. And so is being outside is actually making things not moving faster. But this does not mean that the government is not committed, because as I said earlier on, government has moved tremendously to implement this peace.
Yes, you have
so
moved.
We wanted
our
brother to come back to South Sudan.
You have moved to implement the peace process. But it appears from us, the outside, that you have not tackled the issues that made you fall apart in the first instance? Because for those who felt they're excluded, for those who felt there's injustice, for those who felt the regime is unfair, they felt excluded. I wonder how much you've gone to solve those issues instead of
this is what
rather
we're
than
saying.
bring them together.
This is what we're saying. Implement the peace, and then there will be an inclusive dialogue within South Sudan, where we can now see where we have gone wrong and what we shouldn't do. And so, first of all, is to silence this war and to make sure that our people again are back to their normal life. Then it will be now the political parties in the South Sudan to come together and say, look, we have gone wrong from here. And now let us sit down and iron out what are these problems that are always giving us problems, so that we don't repeat this within the same cycle here. So the idea here is implementing the peace and then move now into internal dialogue, reconciliation with ourselves, forgiveness with ourselves, and we move forward as people of one country called the Republic of South Sudan again.
What have you done to attract some of your best brains? And I know many South Sudanese in the last 50 years when you're fighting with the Arab North, with the Khartoum regime, quite a number of South Sudanese who were taken abroad and they trained and studied in the best universities in Canada, in the United States, and in the Scandinavian countries. They haven't come back.
No. There are a lot of them that has actually come back to South Sudan. Of course, there are those who are also having their jobs abroad. Now, it is not our responsibility to tell them, leave your jobs. If you really wanted to come and serve your country, it should be your willingness to come back to South Sudan. I had been in diaspora too myself, serving within the organization of the SPLM and also catering for myself. But I thought it is very important for me to come back home so that I can also contribute my own ideas to the country.
Because you're serving in SPLM,
the
external wing of the SPLM.
Yes, of course, but it still is my responsibility, as it's a responsibility of any South Sudanese who's outside, to come and rebuild that country. So there are more South Sudanese who have come to the country to join hands together with the government and the people so that we build that country up together. And so, yes, we have a good number of South Sudanese who are educated, but they are still outside there. But that does not mean that they are not coming back to South Sudan. They will definitely come back to South Sudan because some of them have been there for quite a long time and they want to see that peace is brought to the country before they come, and definitely they will come to South Sudan. Nobody will exclude them because they belong to that country and that country belongs to them. What is needed is patriotism. Is this your country? Yes. What do you do for your country? Then the answer must come from your heart.
There was a story of the harassment of your own local investors, South Sudanese themselves. One gentleman who was bundled in a truck, smuggled out of Uganda, I should say, into Juba, and then locked up. The story read for some time and then told to go. Yet he's the big-time investor, a South Sudanese that you know. And he, for many months, he could not even access his businesses in Juba.
No, but you know that this is not actually a scenario that a government is making it. If you go to a country to invest, you must make sure that the procedures are correctly done here. If I come to Uganda and go to a Sudanese
that was declared persona non grata almost in his own country.
No, but you must understand why is he actually put in that particular position. He should tell you exactly what happened. But if he comes to you and tell you a story that we don't understand and is not properly, cannot explain to it, do you take it to be an issue that the government of South Sudan is harassing his own people? No. Some people have got their own motives to destroy the image of the Republic, of the government of the Republic of South Sudan. You know, it's not that all South Sudanese are honest. There are others who are not honest. And this is why we have this war in the Republic of South Sudan, because of dishonesty, disrespect. This is it. A system must be respected in order for the system to move. If I am dishonest to the system, what do you expect that system to do? It is all over the world.
If a South Sudanese that has managed to build a business in Juba, to invest in Juba, create employment for local Sudanese, and then he cannot, find peace to stay there, really. And most people in East Africa accuse the rich Sudanese of not investing in their own country.
Did you ask him exactly specifically what are the reasons why he said he was completely prevented of not being in South Sudan as an investor? There must be something that he even told you yet still. So he should be in a position to relate a specific story to you. To say, this is A, B, C, D, that is why I had been prevented. But if somebody comes up with a story to tell you, do you believe that story? Do I believe that story without analysis? That could not be a true story. But somebody could sit down and concoct a story and say, look,
because
I had
Ambassador Luwate,
at
the beginning of this program, I've been to your country quite a number of times, including 2 years after signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement. I've had my own experience. I've seen, you know, when I'm stopped to do my duty by anybody, and yet I'm showing them my permission card that is granted by the SPLM government. I mean, when somebody says, I've been treated like this, and I have a background to it, I can understand what they've gone through. Because even me as a visitor, I've had my episode in Juba.
So what happened to you in Juba? Were you prevented? Did you fail completely to do what you were supposed to be doing? You went on and then you completed your own story. Just to give you just a story, when I was entering here, you know, I entered through the back door from Serena here. And I told them that I was coming here actually to, you know, to the studio. I have an interview here. The gentleman there, he said that, no, you cannot. I called my bodyguard to come and said, forget about it. Let us go somewhere else, to the other side. You see, we had to respect him. But when he saw that we were so respectable, we were not saying anything, he then said, come in. And then they opened the gate for us. So at the end of the day, a system is a system. If somebody comes and said, please, where are you going? I should be in a position to say, look, I have A, B, C, D to do. But I shouldn't be somebody protecting myself to say, no, why do you ask me those questions, all this kind of stuff? Because I have an ID, because I had a helmet, because I have something with me, and therefore I shouldn't be asking. No, that is not loyaltyism. Loyaltyism means respect the law. Whoever asks you, present yourself to that person and say, this is I am doing ABCD. Nobody will prevent you on this. The problem that we have is a matter of attitude sometimes. Because somebody will come
and you know what?
Why do you ask me so? I am so and so. This is not how we're supposed to be behaving. We're supposed to be loyal to the system so that the system will be working also with us.
And you know what excuse they were telling me? You know, we have just come out of war. Some people are not used some of these regulations and rules. Every time something happened to me and I ran to the SPLM office, say, sorry, Mr. Kamara, you know, we have just come out of war.
But Mr. Kamara, Mr. Kamara, you should also understand this thing that this is also true. This is also true. There are some people with a trauma that actually they had in that particular war. You don't compare yourself with somebody who's coming from the front line, somebody who has experienced, you know, heavy machine guns until you can't even listen. Your ears cannot even listen on the situation. Now, you should be in a position to say, my brother, I am so-and-so on the situation like this, and this is why I am here. But you don't take this one to be some criticism. Myself here, I have trouble here sometimes. I have been stopped by many police around here. But I don't quarrel them because it's a system. I had to identify myself by saying I am so-and-so. And at the end of the day, they will say, please, thank you. You can proceed.
I know, so I know it's your duty to protect the image and the name of your country. But you have to do it with a degree of humility. You have to accept where some of your own countrymen have erred, especially in this town.
No, of course, in this particular time,
I see the lack of that.
No.
As you pitch in for your country.
But of course, you see, these are individuals. Just like I tell you, if you go to Arua Park here, you see people misbehaving there differently. But if I walk to your office, do you believe that you will just look at me and say, this man, I don't know him? No, you will welcome me down and you will say, oh, what can I do for you? You see, in your office. But if you go to some other places, nobody has time for you there because everybody has got a business there to do. Some are there with a different kind of things that they want to actually achieve from somebody else. But you don't blame them, but you only have to make sure that you take care of yourself when you are there. And present yourself as somebody respectable person. At the end, they will understand you.
So that means for those who have had trouble, they have not taken care of themselves well in your country.
No. The situation, if you have a situation of that kind, of course, you can run to somebody and say, this is what is happening here. And definitely, as you said, you have been to the SPLM offices. And some people came for your rescue. And apparently, you were able to do your duties there. That is it.
We're going to take a break. Ambassador Luwate, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be opening the line so that you two at home can call, make a comment, ask a question to Ambassador Luwate on the admission of his country into the East African Community Bloc. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest tonight is Juba's ambassador to Kampala, Ambassador Samuel Luwate. There are those who think that the East African, your country is still a young economy, fragile in some way. It needs some form of protection before you bring in the big boys and compete. Do you think that protection should be given to you, even as you join the bloc?
Well, you know, there's a proverb that we always have in the African community. If a child is left alone, that child will not learn. That child will not learn the wisdom, will not have the wisdom. But if that child stays together with the bigger boys, definitely that child will grow tomorrow morning better with a proper understanding. So the coming of South Sudan there is not because South Sudan does not know anything, but because we wanted to be there so that we grow together. We get these wisdoms from those who are there, because they will definitely help us out. And then at the same time, we will be willing to learn. And tomorrow we will be at the same stage, moving together as a bloc. This is the most important thing at this particular moment.
You still have border issues to contend with, especially the issue of Abier has never been solved totally. You still have pastoral communities, the Mazeria, coming down and having trouble with the Dinka communities. I mean, you still have a lot in your own country to deal with.
No, as I said, we have actually moved towards solving some of this problem. The Mazerias now are actually coming in to the people of South Sudan to say, we want to be together. That's what it is. And it's a process, of course. Process of peace cannot be done in one day. But we are committed to make sure that the people of Abyei and the people of Sudan, the Mazerias themselves, will one day come together and say, look, this is for our mutual interest here. You know, fighting each other is not beneficial to all of us. But if we can coexist together as people here, we will all be winners as a group and together.
We have
and we're moving together with this issue of borders. I'm sure that the government of South Sudan and the government of Sudan are committed to resolve this thing peacefully. What we are saying is, let's keep talking until we're able to get solve these problems.
Let us involve people listening to us. Sometimes we get calls from as far as Juba, by the way. Let us let me pick some calls. I have already a call online. Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Peter.
Peter, you're on air, sir.
I was asking.
Yes.
You are right when you say that even though people appear as...
Continue talking. Don't listen to yourself. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, please don't leave your TV volume up. Turn down the volume, then we will have a healthy conversation. If you leave your volume up, we won't be able to talk. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, hello.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, hello. Patrick, is Patrick Kamara?
Yes, you're on air.
Yeah, I want to talk to him. Yeah, hello.
You're on air, sir.
Yeah, I want to talk to Patrick. I mean,
Okay, I'll drop that call. I'll pick another. Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from? Please, you're on air.
I'm Mugisha from Kanyanya, Kampala. Yes, how are you, Patrick?
We're okay, thank you, sir. Go for it.
Yes, me, what I was suggesting to East African communities, it seems, you see, Kenya is at least practicing democracy, and Tanzania is trying. I think before Sudan is admitted, at least we should first solve this problem of dictatorship, democracy, with this leader, Salva Kiir, Museveni, Kagame, and Nkurunziza, okay? Before we go, because I don't see a person like His Excellency Museveni being in, like yesterday when they were in Tanzania, people here are demonstrating. Westgate is being put under house arrest. Kuruziza is there busy killing his own brothers and sisters. Dinka and Noels are fighting in Juba. Then you bring, there is a lot of insecurity.
There's a lot of work to do before we can come together.
Because if you see, Patrick, hello? If you see, if we talk East African Community Federation, we talk about business. Hello? Yes, Patrick. Yes, if we talk about East African Community, we talk about business. We talk about trading. There's no how you can trade without peace. We cannot talk about business when there is insecurity in Sudan. When there is also a coming up insecurity in Uganda, whereby people are not happy of direction, how it was done and how it was managed. You can talk about business. Me, I do business, I do transport. I used to trade in Burundi. My truck used to go to Burundi, but then they can no longer go there. You see, I don't see this. There is no need of East African Federation. Before Uhuru Kenyatta, if Magufuli, they should come up and tell of His Excellency Museveni, tell of Silva Kid, tell of Burundi, tell of Kagame. Yeah, yes, we talk about this, but in fact, it's not about Museveni. It's about Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. It's about East African Federation, not about leaders, Silva Kid one. So my concluding remark is, before East Africa, we should go for democracy first.
Okay.
We have the same mode of leadership, whereby there are term limits, whereby there are rule of law, respect of rule of law. Then we can move on as Africans.
Thank you very much, Colin. Thank you very much. You've taken quite a lot of time, but I think you are talking things that are real, are happening. And of course, we have our own contestation here in Uganda, and then in Burundi, we know what is happening. So, of course, when you also bring in that combination of South Sudan, I can hear you what you're trying to explain. We'll see what Ambassador Luate will have to say about some of those issues. But let me pick one or two more. Hello.
Good evening, Patrick.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Edmondo from Bade.
Edmondo Nimbale on air, sir.
Thank you for hosting me.
You're welcome.
The ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is not a question. Any question. So many people who have come from Bade who have been in Juba and who have been treated. It's true when you ask him about the mistakes of the people from Uganda. He was saying that was not government who was doing it. But the government is the people. Ambassador, since you have joined the East African community, can you just go and try to tell your people of Southern Sudan how they should behave to the community? That's why it's called East African community. More to that, Ambassador, you know that people in Southern Sudan, they have taken a lot of time in war. Now they are hostile. How are you going to fight that to come out from those people so that they can also behave like the normal people of the planet? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edmondo in Imbale. Let me take two more. Hello. Hello. Let me try another caller online. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I am John Module.
John Module, you're on air, sir.
Yeah. In fact, South Sudan is not the South Sudan has been for many years.
John, your line is not very clear. Could you repeat that, maybe?
You say South Sudan
Yes.
has been war for many years.
He has been in war for many years, yeah.
Many years. That's such a big problem. Instead of blaming South Sudan, this South Sudan has in his hands. She could stand on us.
Okay. Probably I'll take just more, two more calls. Much later. Maybe if you could respond to a few things we've had. Some people are saying there's a combination of chaos here. And probably even yourselves, your house is not yet in order. One gentleman was thinking it would be better if you wait than join.
You see, Kamara, I really understood the question from the gentleman there. What is important here is dialogue. Mm-hmm. You know, if you leave people to continue with the chaos and there's nobody coming in, you know, to tell them that this is wrong, the chaotic situation will continue. But if you are there to make sure that your duty is to tell people that what is happening here should not happen again, they will listen. There are so many situations, like in South Sudan, for example. There's been a war there, but it is now the members of the international community, the African Union, the IGAD, that involved into this process and said, look, what you people are doing is not in the interest of the people of South Sudan. We must stop this. And it is because of that the people of South Sudan said, wait now, this is really not a good situation for us. Can we sit down and talk? And this is why the two leaders came together, Dr. Riek Machar and President Salva Kiir Mayar, to sign this agreement. And so if you are to leave them just alone and say, lead them to do whatever they are doing until they finish up what they are doing, then we will then talk to them. That is not helping. And this scenario goes to all of our sports that has these conflicts at the same time. So dialogue. That
call also seemed to suggest that you're joining a house that seems to be on fire. On its own
well,
trouble.
It's still, even these houses that they suggesting that on fire, it also involves dialogue. Without dialogue, of course, the fire will remain there. But as you see, the other countries that are happening, for example, the issue of Burundi here, that they were saying here, the OAU sent a high delegation to Burundi. And the leadership of that country agreed to talk to them. And therefore, there is a movement of actually bringing the people of Burundi together into a particular situation. This is possible when there is a dialogue within the people of that particular country, just like in my country. And that's why we are saying that now we are moving towards really settling this problem so that our people should also realize that there is peace. Let freedom of movement be there. Let them be left alone to do what it is there. Government is an institution to take care of its own people. And therefore, the responsibility lies upon government. And that's why we said, let us have this transitional government in South Sudan, so that we all become accountable to our people at the scenario. So we cannot just do things without dialogue. And it's very important. I understand there is a caller who mentioned about a situation in Moyo or something like that.
From Mbale and their experience in Juba of being mistreated and
well, again, as I have talked to you,
that you need to own up some of these things that really happen.
Of course, as a state, as a country, we bear responsibilities of this. There's no way that we can say, well, this is not our responsibility here. Any country is responsible for whoever is in that particular country. What is wrong here is that individuals take rule of law into their own hands. And that is completely something that we don't condone as a government. And this is why many times the government has arrested so many people who are going out of their hands. And this is why we're saying that when you are in the Republic of South Sudan, and just like me here, I should be known by this country that there's somebody called ambassador here. That ambassador is following these rules. And there is somebody called a citizen of the Republic of South Sudan here. And by the way, we had so many meetings here with the police in Uganda here. Sometimes we call them for meetings to come and at least educate our people, so that they know the rules and laws of this country at the same time, in order to protect themselves, you see, on the scenario. So when you are in South Sudan and you are asked, please follow the rules and regulations and you will be okay. Government will not let any citizen of any country to be molested there, because the government has a duty to protect anybody within its own territory on the scenario. So I wanted to tell our brothers and sisters in Uganda here that South Sudanese and you are the same people. There are South Sudan, there are Ugandans who are actually, if you see, there are tribes that are cross borders.
There are over 20 cross-border tribes.
Yes.
Between Uganda and South Sudan.
Now, why do we say we're different from the other person here? It is either because of cultural differences, but as you said, we have to work together so that we overcome these issues. And that's the importance of it. In Uganda, I have thousands of my people here. And thank God to the government of Uganda for hosting them here. Ever since, not even now, since the liberation struggle, our people had been here in this particular country. And so you can get met with, I know even here there are certain things that happens. My citizens here, sometimes they have clashes with the Ugandans and all that. But these are things that we can sit down and we can settle. But that will not divide us. We shouldn't allow these things to divide us, whether being South Sudanese or Ugandans. No. A family can disagree over a certain thing, but that does not mean that family must break up completely. No, that is not. They have to talk through dialogue to make things understand.
So how are you preparing your people, not just to sit, but to compete for real?
Well, of course.
Because it's going to be very aggressive.
We have no problem with that. Of course, that's what I said, that the countries that have already institutions that are put into place, they should be responsible also to make sure that they admit South Sudanese to their institution to learn so that we cope up also. Of course, that does not mean that we are completely nothing. We don't have anything to compete. There are people who are talented in several different areas in South Sudan. Those people also should be given the opportunity to move in and, you know, to the institutions that have actually the capacity, like in Uganda, like in Kenya, like in Rwanda and Burundi and other places, Tanzania. And so that when they come out, you can sit down together and then you do things together. So the responsibility here is for the member states, now the East African community, to make sure that this young nation is actually empowered. And the people are brought up so that we can move together, I mean, systematically.
Okay, let me take the last two calls so that maybe you can respond to them. And because we have got so many people who are calling and they want to hear you, or maybe to ask you a question or two. Hello? Hello? Good evening, sir. I'm fine, thank you. Could you go for it, your question or your comment?
Thank you so much. My name is Dennis Okelo.
Could you repeat that, sir?
My name is Dennis Okelo.
Yes, Okelo.
There is one problem. I would want to defend syndrome.
Unfortunately, Okelo, your line is not clear, so let me have to pick another call. Hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name?
Clifford.
Clifford?
Benoni.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the two things that I want to point out. One is to do with the fact that I already said how that is
Clifford, again, I'm sorry, the line is poor. We're sorry for that. Let me take one last call, and if this line is poor, then I don't know what else to do for tonight. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name?
Good evening. How are you, Mr. Patrick?
Good evening.
Actually, you let your appointed the ambassador. Hello.
You're on air.
My name is Tom. Good evening. How are you, sir? Thank you. What is the Mr. Ambassador?
Wow. You are listening to yourself, unfortunately, because there's an echo since you turned up the volume. That's what happens. Hello. Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening. What's your name?
I'm Francis, and I'm calling from Kampala.
Francis, you are on air.
I appreciate the comments that the ambassador is sharing with us.
Mm-hmm.
But three things I'd like to comment about the South Sudan.
Mm-hmm. One
is I think the government of South Sudan is supposed to do a good PR because of the effect it has had as far as some nationalities are treated in the country. Because they are joining the African community and working with the but at the same time, there's a lot that has been happening in terms of the treatment of the current Southern Sudan. That's one. The second thing is allowing us to live side by side with each other. I think it is not accepted for other nationalities. Then the third one is about the military. There has to be systems in place. South Sudan, he talked about like when he's in Uganda, he talked by the police and he presents himself and even finished. But that is not the case when it comes to South Sudan military and the police. There's a lot of mistreatment. I think if we put the structures in place and the system is in place, then they'll be accepted the southern people with other nationalities.
Okay.
But otherwise, we welcome South Sudan on board. The bigger the population is better for the economy and doing business together.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, you could respond to some of those comments, but also make your concluding remark.
Well, I actually wanted to say it, thanks to those who have actually posed their questions to us here. Of course, joining East African community, as I said from the beginning, is a very important ingredient to us because that will expose us to learn from the member states. That will also make us to work hard so that we should be in a position to compete with our brothers and sisters within the bloc. Now, with regard to South Sudan, security, I said from the beginning that when people are coming out of a liberation struggle, the system is a gradual issue, and so that at least when you move, you should make sure that you are moving in the right direction. But of course, even how much you try to move in the right direction, you will still get, some kind of stumbling blocks from here and there. But that does not mean that the system is not working. What is needed is to make sure that improvements are there in the system. And again, this is why we are saying that when we are in this particular block, we will be in a position to see what is good there and what is bad there. You take the good thing from there and then you incorporate that into your system to make sure that tomorrow you are also regarded as somebody that is responsible, managing the affairs of your own country, and will be recognized by another state as somebody being responsible. These are the situations that actually we are eager to work on it, to make sure that we move forward together as a unit. The South Sudan as a country, we have an open door policy. That policy is to make sure that everybody who is neighboring us or from elsewhere, they are free to come to South Sudan and to invest in South Sudan. They are free to come to South Sudan and to help us. We share ideas together. Of course, you may not believe sometimes that things will move straightforward. You may get some, it's not in South Sudan, you may get some hitches from there and there. But that does not mean that you will be deterred from pursuing what you are intending to do in the Republic of South Sudan.
Your concluding remark.
Yes. This is important. I am very glad that South Sudan is actually now admitted officially to the East African bloc. As I said, the admission of South Sudan means a lot to our people, means a lot to the East African community, because it is all about sharing ideas. It is all about development. It is all about we moving together as a people and to avoid ourselves from being completely subjugated from other countries. If you understand, Kamara, what is the policy of the African people during the liberation struggle? They said Africa is for Africa. And so for you to become an African man, to call yourself African as an African man, you must have all the ingredients to sustain yourself. What it means, you must have the full sufficiency. You must be as somebody that have the education put in a place in the country, the institution put in a place in the country, so that at least you can compete with the other countries internationally. So South Sudan is coming in to get these ideas, to work together with the East African community, so that we are not left behind, So I am encouraging the people that they should really take this as an opportunity for South Sudan to move forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You have heard him there. And I'm sure all the South Sudanese in Kampala and those in Juba and whoever is streaming this program live are saying, that's our man in Kampala. Ambassador Samuel Luate speaks and pitches in for his country like a real marketing guru. Thank you very much for being on the show
thank
tonight.
you, Kamara. Thank you very much. Thank you, my brother. And thank you very much.
Now that makes the population of the East African community over 162 million people. That's a big market. And also, if you look at the landmass, almost as big as India. So probably there is something big in that. The common market, even though some people have called it our common poverty because all of us are poor, we can turn that into a common market for good. Good night, and God bless East Africa.